Hi, and welcome back to the channel. On today's video, we're going to talk about an investment parable from the Bible. We're not going to look at the religious aspects of it, but rather look at it from the standpoint of investing. Hi, I'm Gerald Marquith. I'm a certified financial planner, been in the industry about 30 years, and this program is dedicated to those 50 and under for things that you should have learned in high school and college, but for whatever reason, they never taught you. So let's kind of get into our material today. The parable told by Jesus appears in Matthew 25, verses 14 to 30. It's commonly known as the parable of the talents. Now, in this parable that he tells, the owner of a property is going to go on a long trip for quite some time, and he gives three of his employees some money. He entrusts it to them. One he gives 5, another person he gives 2, and the last person he gives 1. And so he takes off on his trip, and the 3 employees have to figure out what to do with this money, because obviously he didn't say what to do. Well, the first 2 immediately got busy buying and selling and doing various things, and as it would turn out in the end, they were going to double their money. Now, the last servant, the one who had just 1, decided it would be far safer to dig a hole and bury it as to protect what he was given. Because obviously, as he looked at it, it's a very limited amount, and he wouldn't want to lose everything when the owner came back. Now, this tells us some important things about the investment world and how we look at money. For instance, each one of us start out with a different amount to invest or to have. And the purpose of that money, the reason that you invest, can be for a lot of different reasons. For your family, for children that you're looking out for, all sorts of different reasons why you invest money. You might say, well, I have to beat inflation, or I have bills to pay in the future, and I know we need to grow this money. Now, the first 2 people, employees that he gave money to, 5 and 2 in this case, they immediately bought and sold, it said, and eventually doubled their money. Now, the parable doesn't say they doubled their money the next day. It just said that they doubled their money upon the time of their employer coming back. Now, buying and selling is in itself a risky proposition, because there's no guarantee that they were going to double their money. In fact, there's no guarantee they were even going to make a profit on what they had. And yet, in this parable, that's exactly what they did. They took risk and decided that they would invest the money and hope that it would grow. And in this case, it did. It doubled what they had. This introduces, by the way, we have to stop right here, the rule of 72. Now, the rule of 72 says, if you want to figure out how to double your money or during what time period, you take the number 72 and divide it by the number of years you need to have it grow, or double in this case, and that's your answer. So say you want it to grow and double in 10 years, your interest, the money you're going to have to earn, is 7.2% a year. And it works the other way as well. If you say, I think I can manage to do 6% a year for the next several years. If I take 72 and divide it by 6, in this case 6 years, it's going to take me 12 years to double my money. Now, you may say that's high or low, but that's a shortcut to figure out how long will it take to double your money. Obviously, if you can do much better in terms of your return over a shorter period of time, you can double it a lot faster. But we're not told in this investment parable how long it took for them to double their money. We don't know when the business owner came back. But nonetheless, we do learn that they took risk, and they did double their money. Now, the servant, or the employee, if you will, decided with 1 talent that he would dig a hole, bury it in the ground, and leave it there until the owner came back. And he did this because he was afraid that if he lost the money, say buying and selling like the other 2, that the owner would be quite upset. And of course, the owner gave him the money and he wanted to make sure that he got back what he gave him. He didn't put it in a bank, he didn't do anything. He just dug it in a hole and waited. Now, as the parable goes on, the business owner came back and he asked the servants, what did they do with their money? Well, the first two said, look, we doubled our money. Isn't that great? And the owner agreed. And he told them they had done a great job with what he had given them. But when it came to the very last person, the one that had dug in the ground the one talent, with him, he was very angry. He says, look, you could have put this in the bank at least and gotten some interest. You could have done a whole lot of things with this money, at least to produce something. Instead, you just put it in the ground and essentially did nothing. This does not seem like a very good employee. Think of this in regards to, say, you are going to invest money with, say, an investment professional. And let's say you had three of them that you were considering. You gave one of them $5,000, you gave the second one $2,000, and the last one you gave $1,000. Which of the three would you be most unhappy with? Well, certainly the last one. You gave them $1,000, and after some period of time, say maybe years, you still only had $1,000. No return at all. No return on your investment. Now, the other two you're quite pleased with. And so what would you do? Well, you take the $1,000 that you gave that third employee, financial advisor, or whomever, and gave it to the other two and say, here, you can grow my money better. And of course, that other advisor, well, they got fired, if you will. These tell us important things about investing. Number one, your motivation for investing. It's very important for you to be very clear what you're trying to do with this money. Is it for college, retirement, a house, whatever? You've got to know what the money is for. Number two, in order to achieve your goal, you're going to want to figure out how long it's going to take and also how much you're going to need. Motivation is a big thing. Unless you know what your goals are, it's really going to be very hard to hit them. And in this case, the first two employees were very concerned about their master returning, that they showed a return on investment, which of course they did. But if you're very cautious, you hide the money, like the third person, and you make sure you don't lose it all, or at least you think you're not losing anything, but you really are. Yes, you could put it in a bank and a money market and get, say, 3 or 4%. That's not going to go anywhere, because after taxes and your returns and a taxable account, you end up with very little money off that money you put in. So you want to seriously consider what this parable is telling us. It's telling us it is worthwhile to take the risk. Now, let's again back up a second and say that you gave your financial advisor $1,000 and they returned back to you $500. What would you think of that? Well, you'd still be very upset. However, you'd realize that they were still trying to invest your money, and you might hang on a bit longer and say, well, I'm going to give you more of an opportunity to grow it. You might not immediately pull it from them because, again, you're taking a loss. But in the case here of this investment parable, having no return at all was not acceptable to the business owner. You can think of this investment parable in a lot of different ways, both in your job and in your life in general. Without risk, you don't get a reward. It's not going to magically double. You're going to have to do something with that money, in this case, buying or selling, to make sure that money will grow. And of course, they were watching it. If they were buying and selling, they were watching that money growing. So think about that in terms of your investments, that you have to take some degree of risk. You don't have to be very risky, but you certainly want it to grow, especially over time. And if you use the rule of 72, you can figure out what target you're shooting at. So this has been a very short video, and I hope you got something out of it. I hope you like and subscribe and share this with others. Leave some comments if you can. And remember what I close with all the time. To invest or not to invest? That is the question. Have a good day.